Spider-Man 2000, the first great superhero game. A game so legendary in its status that it's seen as the model for Spider-Man and superhero games to this day. It's actually hard to think of a time where we didn't have so many great superhero titles to play like we do now. Back then, there weren't so many options to choose from, and a lot of those options were honestly pretty bad. And sure, we had some okay Spider-Man games before this and some really solid ones, even if they were just they were just more beat 'em ups, but that's all we really needed at the time. That's pretty much all we ever got for Spider-Man games at this point in gaming history. Remember, this is before classics like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and Spider-Man Web of Shadows, two iconic games featuring the wall crawler. Spider-Man 2000 was the first true Spider-Man experience that many people today have fond memories of. So what was it that made this game so memorable? This game released nearly 24 years ago by Neversoft, the developers behind the generational Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. This game transformed how many people visualize character action games with its engaging gameplay and solid story.
Run completed. Let us begin phase 2.
It's like the jockey from Left 4 Dead.
Using the same engine powering their skating games and philosophy on putting players in control of your character's coolest moves, let Neversoft create something with its own identity. They were self-aware of the character's comic book roots, even letting Spider-Man co-creator and legendary comic book figure Stan Lee narrate the intro cutscene just before control is given to the player.
Welcome, true believers and newcomers alike. Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here. Once again, we find our hero Peter Parker, better known around the world as the Amazing Spider-Man, in a heap of trouble. But this is just the beginning, Spidey fans. So get ready for a true superhero action thriller, packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, more supervillains than you can shake a web at, and of course, non-stop web-slinging, wall-crawling action.
After a brief interaction with Black Cat, you're dropped right into the game, teaching you all you need to know to save New York: how to jump, how to punch, and also how to swing.
Gotta get to that bank.
Are you serious?
Technology.
Neversoft's Spider-Man entry is widely regarded as the first game to get Spider-Man's web swinging right, and it did such a great job translating that Spider-Man experience for players into something that could actually be pretty fun in a video game. Combat, while pretty basic with your standard punches and kicks, allows you to fight how the wall crawler would fight, letting you utilize some of Spidey's flashiest moves, like the web dome and the web gloves, and of course that mule kick, but if you wanted, you could web up those bad guys if the fight got a little too busy, which gave players a way to slow things down if things got a little too rough. The combat's very simple, but it's also very fun, with animations that feel accurate to the character. Spider-Man's overall moveset in this game had clear thought put behind it, like the developers knew that they could make the player a little more immersed into the Spidey experience that other games just didn't really get the chance to do, and that extra effort pays off. Controlling Spider-Man in combat, while dated by today's standards, provided a super simple combat system that felt unique to the character and was accessible enough for anyone to play and understand. It wasn't just the combat though that Neversoft decided to revamp, but the overall design of the levels too. You could crawl on walls and ceilings to take advantage of the brand new 3D spaces, which allowed for stealth missions as Spider-Man sneaks around those criminals to take them out silently, or at least his version of silent. I mean, that guy's just dead. What I'm really saying here is that this is the first Spider-Man game with its own identity. Not a beat-em-up where you play as Spider-Man, but a Spider-Man game that shows you in every single frame what the future of Spider-Man games was going to look like. But what about the other half of what Spider-Man games are known for now? The story. Was this great? I mean, yeah. For the time, this was the best story we've ever seen in a Spider-Man video game. This was right at the time that video games got a lot more visually artistic and were actually able to present a solid narrative that could motivate the player beyond the fun gameplay. In-game cutscenes were used to elevate this presentation, complete with full voice acting that remains iconic today, even if it's a little silly.
The records room.
Surf the web, surf the web.
Shut up, Brock. We don't have time.
Classic villains like Scorpion, Rhino, Lizard, Venom, and even Carnage makes an appearance, and they're all involved in making Peter Parker's miserable life just a little bit more miserable. He even gets framed for crimes he didn't commit at the start of the game, and later Mary Jane, who's now his wife in this timeline, gets kidnapped by Venom. Oh, and I forgot to mention the city streets are covered in gas and the symbiotes are invading again. You're tasked with solving all of this and uncovering just exactly what's behind this sinister plot to destroy New York. The stakes couldn't be higher, so high that Spider-Man actually for once gets some help from other Marvel characters like Captain America, the Punisher, and even the Human Torch to level this playing field. The game's story takes you across the gas-covered Manhattan skyline, in sewers housed by lizards, and science laboratories run by some of Spidey's deadliest threats. It's a pretty simple comic book story, just told in a video game, involving multiple villains from our hero's rogues gallery, not at all unlike the stories we've seen in other superhero games years later. I'm sure you guys get my point now. A lot of what we see in superhero games, and dare I say superhero media, has ties to this game in some way or another. Spider-Man 2000 defined what superhero games could be. This is one of the few games that feels like it was made by a crew of talented developers ready to make something genuine and full of potential, yet a complete experience all on its own. All while innovating on the superhero game genre that has blossomed into the powerhouse it is today. A genre, by the way, that still pushes itself and the technology to give us the best possible experiences, producing even more great superhero games. Thanks so much for watching this video, and be sure to like and subscribe because I worked really hard on this, and you guys letting me know how I did makes it all worth it. Leave a comment down below on what you guys think I should talk about next. Do you guys want to see a video on other Spider-Man games? Or what about other superhero titles, both good and bad? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Bye guys!